4:42 p.m. Southern Caribbean Sea. 38 nautical miles from the Venezuelan coastline, the water is calm and mirror bright, catching the gold of the late afternoon sun. Aboard the USS Mason, an Arleigh Burke-class U.S. destroyer, the bridge moves with its usual rhythm. Systems hum. Radar sweeps the horizon. Sailors rotate through watch stations. A petty officer writes fresh coordinates into the ship's log. Everything feels routine until a voice from the Combat Information Center cuts across the bridge communications. Bridge, CIC. We have 2 surface contacts approaching. Their speed is increasing quickly. On the large repeater screen, 2 radar returns appear near the southwestern edge of the display. At first, they are separated by more than 7 nautical miles. Then the gap begins to close. CIC sharpens the picture. One contact is identified almost immediately, a Venezuelan Guamacuto-class patrol vessel. The second return is larger. When its profile resolves, the room grows quiet. A Russian Krivak 3 class frigate. Russian and Venezuelan naval vessels do not usually move in a tight pattern like this. They do not normally increase speed at the same time while heading toward a U.S. destroyer. But now both ships are pushing faster, adjusting their course toward the Mason's projected path. One officer says quietly what everyone else is already thinking. This is deliberate. CIC updates the bridge again. The Venezuelan vessel has gone from 14 knots to 22 knots in less than 90 seconds. The Russian frigate shifts 8 degrees to starboard, bringing its path closer to the Mason's bow. This is not random movement. It is not routine navigation. It is coordinated. The officer of the deck sends the first required radio call. Unknown, Russian and Venezuelan naval vessels. This is a United States warship operating in international waters. Alter course immediately. No response. A second message is sent in Spanish. Again, nothing. No static, no broken signal. Just silence. On the tactical chart, the closest point of approach drops from 5.2 nautical miles to 3.1. Anything under 3 nautical miles is treated as a serious signal, and both vessels are still gaining speed. The captain does not raise his voice. He does not need to. Hold course. Record everything. The USS Mason shifts into a presence and documentation posture. Its forward deck system rotates just enough to be seen, not as a threat, but as a clear message that the ship is aware and ready. Long-range optical cameras lock onto both approaching vessels. The electronic monitoring suite begins capturing every radar pulse coming from the Russian frigate and the Venezuelan patrol ship. Then CIC reports something that makes the bridge go still. Forward dome signature detected. Russian targeting radar active. 0.8 seconds, then off. A targeting radar does not blink on by accident. A burst that short is a signal, brief enough to deny, clear enough to understand. Below deck, CIC continues feeding updates. Venezuelan vessel increasing speed again. New speed, 24 knots. Russian hull maintaining intercept vector. CPA now 2.6 nautical miles and closing. The Mason's captain stands at the center of the bridge, one hand resting against the cold metal rail, eyes fixed ahead. We maintain the rules, we do not yield. Outside, the sea begins to darken. The sun drops lower as 3 naval vessels carve converging wakes across the Caribbean. The Russian frigate shifts formation, sliding closer to the Venezuelan patrol ship. Together, they form a tighter wedge aimed toward the American destroyer's line of travel. CIC calls it a blade formation. Rare, direct, calculated. The tension builds second by second. Inside CIC, every sentence is short and controlled. On radar, the 3 contacts continue drawing closer, like pieces on a board moving toward the same square. On deck, sailors quietly secure loose gear. Everyone aboard understands how quickly a close pass can turn dangerous when thousands of tons of steel are moving at speed. 38 nautical miles from Venezuela, the warm Caribbean suddenly feels like a chessboard. 2 Allied ships moving with shared intent, one American destroyer holding its course exactly by the book. And every sailor aboard knows that if just one of the 3 vessels changes course by only a few degrees, the next 5 minutes could become a global headline. 4:46 p.m. The sea is still calm, but aboard the USS Mason, the atmosphere is tense and focused. The Russian Krivak 3 and the Venezuelan Guamacuto are now closing in a synchronized pattern, parallel but slowly converging, like 2 blades aligning into one line. Inside the Combat Information Center, low voices, rapid keystrokes, and the steady sweep of radar fill the room. Contact speed steady at 24 knots. CPA 1.9 nautical miles, the tracking officer reports. Under 2 nautical miles is no longer simple shadowing. It is a message. The captain answers without turning his head. Launch the Seahawk. Keep it non-escalatory. Full documentation. Within minutes, a faint vibration moves through the ship as the MH-60R Seahawk comes alive on the flight deck. Its rotors cut into the warm Caribbean air, pushing spray across the starboard side before the helicopter lifts away in a controlled climb and banks toward the 2 approaching vessels. From above, the scene looks even more serious. The Russian frigate, with its sharp Soviet-era lines and deck-mounted launch canisters, moves through the water with a hard, deliberate posture. Beside it, the Venezuelan patrol vessel stays close to its flank, its engines working hard enough to leave a churning white wake behind. Inside the Seahawk cockpit, the sensor operator brings the MX-20 FLIR turret online. High-resolution thermal imaging locks onto the Venezuelan deck. Several crew members are visible near the forward 76mm mount, moving with purpose. Deck activity noted. Forward crew positions observed. System remains unmanned. The report goes straight back to the Mason. Aboard the U.S. destroyer, CIC records every frame. Then the first real escalation arrives. Russian frigate has activated search radar. A pause. Stand by. Brief fire control pulse detected. It lasts less than 1 second, but the meaning is clear to everyone listening. A fire control radar is not part of normal courtesy signaling. Even a brief flash carries weight. The Seahawk moves closer, descending to 200 feet and drawing a clean, deliberate arc across the sky. The U.S. Navy markings beneath its wings are plainly visible to both foreign crews. On the Russian deck, figures begin moving faster. One crew member raises binoculars toward the helicopter. The Seahawk pilot keeps the aircraft steady, close enough to show presence, far enough to avoid creating an unnecessary incident. Then comes the visual warning. The helicopter crew activates a green signal beam. A bright, unmistakable pulse sweeps across the bridge windows of the Venezuelan vessel. It is not meant to cause harm. It is a message. We see you. We are recording. Do not push this further. Seconds later, the Seahawk transmits over open radio. Venezuelan naval vessel. You are operating unsafely in international waters. Adjust course immediately. Your actions are being recorded. For 10 long seconds, only static answers. Then the Venezuelan captain responds, his voice tight, guarded, and loaded with political meaning. U.S. vessel, you are near our assigned patrol zone. Maintain distance. But the Mason is not inside territorial waters. Everyone aboard knows it. The refusal to acknowledge that only makes the moment sharper. Meanwhile, the Russian frigate says nothing. No radio call, no explanation, no attempt to clarify its movement, just a steady line toward the American destroyer. Then the Venezuelan vessel makes its boldest move yet. It shifts course by 7 degrees, aiming across the Mason's projected bow. Not close enough to make contact, but close enough to force a decision. CPA now 1.5 nautical miles, CIC calls out. Still narrowing. Bridge officers tighten their grip on the consoles. At more than 20 knots, one sudden turn could turn a close pass into an international incident. But the U.S. captain holds firm. Maintain course, maintain speed, do not react. The Seahawk drops lower, passing just above the Venezuelan mast. Rotor wash sweeps across the deck, snapping loose covers and forcing several crew members to steady themselves. That changes the rhythm. The Venezuelan ship hesitates. Its wake shortens. Speed falls from 24 knots to 21. Then CIC calls out the second shift. Russian frigate reducing throttle, emissions decreasing, no additional fire control pulses. A formation that moments earlier looked locked into a high-pressure confrontation is now beginning to loosen. The synchronized approach breaks under the steady, disciplined response of the U.S. Navy. But the standoff is not finished. Not yet. This close to the Venezuelan coast, pressure is a language of its own, and Moscow and Caracas still have one more move left. 4:54 p.m. The sun sinks lower toward the Caribbean horizon, turning the water deep orange. The Russian and Venezuelan ships, only moments ago moving forward with coordinated intent, now begin to show the first signs of hesitation. The Seahawk circles overhead like a silent observer. Its FLIR camera captures every shift of the helm, Every movement on deck, every pause in the formation. Inside the USS Mason's Combat Information Center, nobody relaxes. Speed may be dropping, but the situation is still active. Venezuelan vessel now at 21 knots. Now 20. CPA opening to 1.8 nautical miles. The tracker calls out the slight change. In a standoff like this, even a single knot can carry the weight of a diplomatic statement. Then the Russian frigate follows. Its throttle eases back. The wake behind it begins to shrink. Radar emissions drop from active surface search to low-power standby. Russia is stepping back, an electronic warfare specialist notes. The captain gives a small shake of his head. They're reassessing, not retreating. At 4:56 p.m., the silence finally breaks. Not from the Russian side, but from the Venezuelan patrol ship. The radio crackles, distorted but clear enough to understand. United States warship, we are conducting sovereign patrol duties in cooperation with the Russian Federation. We request that you adjust heading to avoid escalation. The wording is polished, diplomatic, carefully chosen. But on the Mason's bridge, it lands exactly as intended. An attempt to rewrite the moment while it is still happening. The captain answers with calm authority. Venezuelan naval vessel, we are operating under international maritime law in international waters. Your previous maneuvers were unsafe and have been documented. For a moment, there is silence again. Not just over the radio, but across all three ships. The kind of silence where decisions are being weighed far beyond the horizon in command rooms thousands of miles away. Then the Russian frigate finally speaks. Its radio voice is low, controlled, and cold. United States warship, our presence here is lawful. We advise you to remain clear of Venezuelan patrol zones. The phrasing is deliberate. Russia does not acknowledge the close approach. It does not explain the coordinated movement. It does not mention the brief radar signal. Instead, it frames the entire encounter as routine and quietly tries to place the responsibility on the Americans. But aboard the Mason, the record tells a different story. Thermal video saved, radar logs saved, electronic signatures saved, closest approach timeline saved. In gray zone encounters, evidence is often the most powerful response, and the Mason has collected all of it. 4:58 p.m. The Venezuelan ship turns another 4 degrees to starboard, peeling away from the Mason's bow. Its speed drops again, now down to 18 knots. Crew members on deck begin moving away from the forward position. A junior sailor asks quietly, "What changed?" The CIC watch officer answers without looking up. They saw the helicopter overhead, and they saw we didn't move. The Russian frigate holds its position for another tense minute, maintaining a wide arc around the Mason, as if calculating one final angle of approach. But even Moscow understands the optics. A contact at sea, even an accidental one, could create a political storm neither side would fully control. At 5:01 p.m., the Krivak 3 turns 10 degrees to port. It is not a retreat. It is not surrender. It is a tactical disengagement, quiet, professional, and designed to save face. The Seahawk tracks both vessels as they slowly widen the distance. Its camera captures the tension draining out of the formation. The Russian frigate settles into a parallel course roughly 3 nautical miles away. The Venezuelan patrol ship drifts back into a safer trailing position. By 5:03 p.m., CIC announces the shift everyone has been waiting for. All foreign contacts stabilizing. No further high-level radar activity detected. Situation de-escalating. The Mason remains on its original heading. Steady, unmoved, unchanged. The U.S. Navy does not alter course because of pressure tactics, and both opposing vessels have now seen that firsthand. But this was never only a tactical moment on a chart. Its political shockwaves will travel far beyond the Caribbean. Intelligence analysts already understand the larger picture. 48 hours earlier, the United States had intercepted what officials identified as a Venezuelan transfer vessel carrying Iranian drone components. The operation that followed embarrassed Caracas and angered its partners in Moscow. This close approach was meant to be an answer, a show of strength, a reminder that Venezuela was not standing alone. But instead of forcing the U.S. destroyer to back down, the maneuver revealed something else. Russia and Venezuela can apply pressure, but America can hold the line without escalating the moment. 5:06 p.m. The Seahawk banks back toward the Mason, its rotors shimmering in the fading light. Moments later, it settles onto the flight deck. The destroyer continues forward. Untouched, unchanged, unmoved. Two nations tried to pressure a U.S. warship into changing course. They left with nothing but recorded evidence against them and momentum lost at sea. The Caribbean grows quiet again, but one question remains.